Okay. So good evening and welcome to this special council meeting. This is meeting number 5. It is Tuesday, March 19th, 2024, and I'm going to begin with the land acknowledgement statement. The Township of West Lincoln, being part of Niagara Region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Wendouree, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Township of West Lincoln, as part of the Regional Municipality of Niagara, stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. I'm going to ask members of council who are here and also those who are on Zoom, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest and/or conflict of interest? All right. I will start, before we get into our confidential session, by saying that neither Councillor Rayner nor Councillor Bell are here for this meeting. Councillor Bell is desperately trying to get online, but we are starting without that. If he ends up joining us partway through, that will be fine. So I need a mover, please. Councillor Chichok, and somebody to second that the next portion of this meeting be closed to the public to consider the following pursuant to Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001. So the first item is 3.1, Township Solicitor Tom Hanrahan. Well, I was going to come back, but thank you, Councillor. I was going to come back and get a seconder after I'd read it, but it's all good. Okay, so we have Tom Hanrahan with us this evening from Sullivan Manny. Legal Solicitor Client Privilege Matter, OPA, wrong one. We have to change these, right? So this is not correct on here. I will read them in order, but then we are going to change the order that we do them. So the first I will continue as I was doing. So the first then is the applicable closed session exemptions, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. And 3.2 is also Township Solicitor Tom Hanrahan, again from Sullivan Mahoney. Legal solicitor-client privilege matter, the Township of West Lincoln versus Jonker. And the applicable closed session exemptions are litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. And so I do have a mover and a seconder. And so I will call the vote for moving into confidential session. All those in favor? Okay, I see a hand raised. Okay, we're doing it. Okay, so we have 2 hands up, so we're sort of doing it both ways. Thank you. Not sure if the people online are able to do that, but otherwise we did see your hands, so thank you. Did it not come up, Joanne?
No, but I'm in the agenda.
Okay. Okay, so we are now in close. still. Okay, well, welcome back, everybody. We're back in open session. Just to finish up under the section 4 of this meeting, I'd like to just inform everyone that under 3.1, staff direction has been provided in closed session on that item. But we do have 3.2, a follow-up publicly. So we have a resolution, and I need a mover and a seconder about the verbal update. So you have that in front of you. So Councillor Riley, can I ask you to move, please, the resolution regarding item 3.2? He's not listening.
And I'm just bringing it up here. You said 3.0, so actually 4.1, but confidential item 3.2?
Yes, we're just
Item-
there. So item 3.1, under 4.1, was just staff direction, and that's been provided. So we're now on the next portion, which is 3.2. And I
Okay,
need a
I see.
mover, and so I went to your screen, I didn't realize that you didn't have it up.
No, that's fine. I have it right in front of me.
Okay, and Councillor Chichok, will you second that, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay, and since you have it up, Councillor Riley, would you like to read it?
Yeah, I can. So, moved by myself. Oh, so it popped up here. So moved by myself that the verbal update from confidential item 3.2 regarding the Township of West Lincoln versus Yonker be received for information, and that the Ontario Superior Court of Justice Divisional Court decision dated February 28, 2024 regarding Yonker and the Township of West Lincoln be received.
Thank you. So will that come on the screen, madam? Okay, so it is open to, I don't have it either. Does it come up on your screen? Okay, well, it didn't come up on mine, but I'm in favor. Okay, did it come up on your screen, councillors?
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Bradrick has voted or no? Okay, Councillor Bradrick, has it come up on your screen? It's not on mine either, so.
She might be having difficulties.
That could be. It didn't come up on my screen either, but I
Yeah.
also am in favor, so. That carries. Yes, she voted.
I tried to.
So we can call that carried. There are enough of us, some by hand and some electronically. Okay, and Councillor Trumpet, I'm just going to ask that you move the bylaws, please. And seconder, Councillor Chichok, for the sake of expediency. Okay. All right. So, Councillor, do you want to read them or do you want me to read them? You can read them. Okay, I will do that. So, that leave be granted to introduce bylaw number 2024-15, and that the same shall be considered to have been read a first, second, and third time with one reading and is hereby adopted. And that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and affix the corporate seal thereto, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. And 5.1, bylaw 2024-15, a bylaw to adopt and confirm ratify matters dealt with by council resolution. So all in favor of that? Confirming bylaw? Oh, well, I'm out of, I don't know why, but I don't have it, but I support that. And you have a vote from everybody else? Okay, that's good then. Okay. So that resolution carries, and so I'm going to confirm this meeting is adjourned at the hour of 7:54.
Good evening, everybody. Sorry for the delay. We had some other matters to deal with. We are now starting our Administration, Finance, and Fire Committee agenda. Usually the start time is 6:30, but we are starting at 8 p.m. due to some unforeseen confidential matters. I am your chair, Jason Trombetta. Please note that this evening absent is Councillor Rayner and Councillor Bell. So prior comments can be made to members of the public for this matter on the agenda by advising the chair during or request to address an item on the agenda. The public may submit written comments for matters that are on the agenda to nfortino@westlincoln.ca before 4:30 on the day of the meeting. Comments submitted will be considered as public information and be read into the public record. This meeting is live streamed and will be recorded and available on the township's website. We have our land acknowledgement statement. The township of West Lincoln, being part of the Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history as the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Ronk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The township of West Lincoln, as a part of the regional municipality of Niagara, stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardships on the lands on which we live. Members of the committee, is there any changes of orders of items on this agenda? Anybody? No. Seeing none. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest? Seeing none. We have no appointments. Anybody here to request any items on the agenda? I'll ask IT if there's anybody.
Seeing none, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And there's nobody in the gallery, so we'll head on to consent agenda items. Item A0824, the recommendation of Administration, Fire, Finance Committee hereby approve the following consent agenda items. Items number 1, 2, 3, and 4 are hereby received for information with the exceptions of, and I'll read them out, the West Lincoln Age Friendly Advisory Committee, minutes of February 9th, 2024, Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee, minutes of February 7th, 2024, Information Report WLFD 04 2024 Monthly Update February 2024, and Information Report T06 2024 2023 Statement of Remuneration of Expenses of Members of Council and persons serving on any bodies. Any members of committee wishing to pull anything? Councillor Chichuk?
Item 3.
I see that Pete will pull item number 3, so we will vote on number 1, 2, and 4, members of committee. And that. Oh, sorry, I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Chichuk, seconded by Councillor Riley. And that'll be up on your screens for
In a minute.
1, 2, and 4. And that carries. And with Councillor Chichuk, you did pull number 3.
Yes, Mr.
Chief microphone, Councillor. There you go.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Through you to the chief, thank you very much for this progress report. I guess I'm looking at it and hearing and reading it, knowing that this report is for the February month, but I presume that this information was up to last week where your report was submitted.
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Chichuk, yes, it was up to date right to Thursday when I submitted the report.
So through you, Mr. Chair, it says that you will be at substantial completion. When will there be occupancy? Because some of this stuff, we've been hearing about gas requirements being almost done. That last 10% is taking longer than the first 90. So I just like to get an understanding that when we say mid-April, I don't want people who see this on our public agendas thinking that it's done, because it's probably not going to be finished until sometime in May, where you'll have firefighters there. Is that correct?
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Chichuk, we're hoping to move trucks over around between the 5th and the 8th of April.
Okay,
So
Chief.
we'll be hopefully responding to calls at that time. That being said, there'll be some deficiencies that'll have to be worked on. We haven't done that yet either, so.
Should I have my fire hat and my winter coat ready to ride on the truck over? All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll be standing there waiting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any members of the committee, any other questions? Madam Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, to you, Chief, I know that this system is down and you can't get the report calls coming in. Do we have any idea when that's supposed to be ready with the new system so that we're able to actually, and I ask that for a reason, just before you answer. I was kind of watching on behalf of some of the regional stats, how many cases we had that were responses to particular kinds of problems, as I've been hearing about some of the reports from other municipalities when I sit at regional council. And so my stats have holes now in terms of approximate number of fires and approximate EMS support calls and approximate accidents and approximate mental health issues. So I'm just sort of wondering how big a gap we're going to have in those details.
Through you, Chair Trombetta, to Mayor Gannon. I was at dispatch on Thursday of last week. The system is still down, or is still working. They're changing over to Next Gen 911, and we're changing over to First Do with Lincoln and Grimsby and Pelham, which is a software thing. So there's a little bit of stuff to do on St. Catharines' end at dispatch to amalgamate their system and our system together. But hopefully, by the end of the month, we're looking at getting back online and getting those.
So sooner rather than
yeah,
later. That sounds
100%.
good. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other members of the committee, any questions? Okay, I just have one. I think Councilor Chichuk touched on it, Chief Fisher. We have been getting some calls from some emails from residents looking for status updates of this project. A lot of members of committee have been getting them through emails and such. Can you just give me sort of a real, idea? You did touch on some dates. Can you just give me some projected dates on grand openings and so on and so forth, Chief, so that the public can hear, because they are reaching out to us a couple times, if that's okay?
Absolutely. So, hopefully in the next week or two, we start doing calls. We move some trucks over and get some of the major equipment moved over. There is going to be some time in which, there's going to be some deficiencies that they're going to have to address down the road, after we move in. But I would say, if I was thinking about it, I'm looking at a May grand opening. Let's get into a little bit nicer weather.
Absolutely.
And then do a May grand opening, but I probably will be doing a media release a media release opening for the papers and that.
Okay, perfect.
well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that, Chief. Those are my only questions. Seeing nothing else, we had that moved by Councillor Chichuk. I need a seconder for that, Madam Mayor, and that should be coming up in front of you, councillors. And that carries. Thank you, members of the committee. There are no communications. Moving on to staff reports. Item 0A0924, Director of Planning and Building, Brian Trouble. Recommendation report PD 18-2024, reimbursement to RVL Contracting, Inc. The recommendation report PD 1824 regarding recommendation report reimbursement to RVL Contracting, Inc. dated March 19th, 2024 be received, and that the amount of $222,944.97 reimbursable to RVL Construction to cover the cost of the township share of the construction work be approved, and that a budget amendment BA 2023-18 in the amount of $223,000 funded through the development charges and a transfer from the capital reserve be approved in the 2023 year, and that the previous authorizing bylaw 2020-111B and is hereby repealed, and that and authorizing bylaw be passed to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the agreement with RVL Contracting. I need a mover for this, members of committee. Madam Mayor, seconded. Councilor Riley. Any comments or questions on this recommendation? Seeing none, the votes will be in front of you, members of committee. And that carries. Moving on to other business, reach to my members of committee. Any members of this committee to talk about anything on their committee boards that they want to discuss? Anything? Seeing none, moving on to item A1124, members of council. Any other business of informative nature? And seeing none. We have no new business. We have no confidential matters. So, members of the committee will adjourn this portion of tonight's meeting at the hour of 8:12. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to tonight's second portion of tonight's meeting. I am your acting chair, Councillor Trombetta, for tonight's Public Works and Recreation Committee agenda. Please note that Councillor Bell and Councillor Rayner are not in attendance this evening. I'll move on to our land acknowledgement statement. The Township of West Lincoln, being a part of the Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations as the Hattaway-Wendoronk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Township of West Lincoln, as a part of the regional municipality of Niagara, stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardships on the land on which we live. Members of committee, any changes in orders of items on the agenda? Seeing none. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest? Seeing none, there are no appointments. Anybody in the gallery to speak to anything? I'll refer to seeing none from everybody in the gallery and online. Consent agenda items. Moving on to to item PW0724. Recommendation, Public Works, Recreation, and Arena Committee hereby is approved the following consent agenda items. Items number 1, 2, 3 be hereby received for information. Number 1, West Lincoln Public Library Board minutes of January 16th, 2024. West Lincoln Public Library Board minutes, January 19th, 2024. And information report PW03-2024 to 2023 capital project completion update. I need a mover for that. Seconder, Councilor Chichek, seconded by Councilor Riley. Do you want to pull anything, Councilor Riley? Sorry, I saw his head. Go ahead. Might be.
I pull item 3.
Okay, so that'll be pulled, yeah, I figured. Okay, so we'll vote on the first 2 library board minutes, and then we'll pull well, obviously Councilor Riley pulled number 3. And that carries. Okay, and we have number 3, information report PW03-2024-2023 capital project. It was pulled by Councilor Riley. We're going to move it now, or I'll move it at the end. Usually I move it at the end. Yeah. Go ahead, Councilor Riley.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I guess first I've ever seen of this kind of report here, so I want to start by thanking staff for this, because I think with all the decisions we have to make, we rarely get to see like a beginning and an end and have it kind of put together in a report. It's usually just a brief update. But through you, Mr. Chair, to I guess our Director of Public Works, could he maybe speak to this a little bit and kind of even explain what the intention was behind this, beyond the obvious of just kind of informing council and the public. And for those in the public who don't see, we kind of have a nice report here that kind of shows roads that were desperate need of repair, and kind of its conclusion, and actually having a physical image to actually see the beginning and end of that.
Okay, through the chair, thank you for the question, Councilor Riley. Staff had a discussion about, whenever we do a capital project, like a major infrastructure project, we thought it'd be a very good idea to report back to council, just to kind of close the loop on our projects. Council approves the budget. And the 2 projects that we're talking about in this report is the Pearson Bridge rehab and our annual roads resurfacing program. Council approves the budget, we issue a tender, staff brings the tender forward, and it gets approved, and then we do our stuff, we do the projects, and then we never do really report back unless the project is over budget and we need a budget amendment. So talking to staff, we thought it'd be good on these major type of infrastructure projects to report back to council and committee whenever the project is complete, substantially complete. And I think our goal is to continue doing this every time a project is finished. And then hopefully, by the end of this council term, we'll be able to provide a summary of all the major infrastructure projects that are done. So that's kind of what staff will be providing moving forward. So thanks for the question.
Perfect. And if I could, Mr. Chair, I would wondering if there's a possibility, maybe through you to our CAO, if there's a possibility on our website somewhere to kind of have this information a little bit more accessible. I think it's really easy for us as council, the amount of decisions we make, some of these things kind of go unseen, unrecognized, unless you actually live in these specific areas. And I think it's so good for the community to actually see the work that we do and end result in where their tax dollars, hard-earned tax dollars, are going towards in the areas that it's enriching and improving. If there's some way we could, for somebody who might be interested in just seeing what, the ongoing projects and its final completion, if we could have it on the website somewhere in some capacity, that would be great. I just don't know how you do that. That's something you'd have to look into, I'm sure. But I just think there'd be a nice way to be able to kind of have it stored so people can kind of see where their hard-earned tax dollars are going.
Go ahead, Madam CEO.
Through you, Chairman Trombetta, to Councillor Riley. Just off the top of my head, we could, when we do council news, there's a lot of information in that report, so we can give a little bit of detail in council news, so it's already a communication that the township has, and we can offer it to the public in that method. That's probably the easiest, because we already use that.
Okay. And that'd be perfectly fine. Just some way that we can help say, hey, listen, this is what we started. A lot of times people only ever hear about it during budget time or when it comes up for an amendment later on, and sometimes there's no visual to go with that. So I think, I look at, even the Pearson Bridge here, to be able to see what it looked like before, which was horrendous, to kind of see it all freshly done and improved and how it looks in the end. I just think that's a rewarding image that I think the community would at least see some value in. So if we could do it through the council news or social media, however you want to use it, I'd just love to make that a little bit more accessible to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Director?
Check, yeah. Thanks, Chair. I also wanted to add that we do have a projects page on our website where we, advise the community when our projects are ongoing. So we could also update our project page for these two projects to kind of advise the community that the projects are done and show some before and after pictures as the report is doing. So we could do that as well.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Chichuk?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think you better take those pictures in a hurry and send those out, because I hate to tell you this, but I've had pictures weeks ago, especially about Vaughan Road, from some of the constituents who thank you and thank the township for the work and the improvements that it's doing. And through you, Mr. Chair, to the appropriate staff, I would imagine that, so we struggled with Vaughan Road for completion of it for this year, as we promised last year in our budgeting restrictions, our spending. Will the balance of this money go towards the Phase 2 of Vaughan Road? Is that how this will get used, or is it just a general that qualifies for the funding from the Canada Community Building Fund?
Madam CAO?
Through you, Chairman Trombetta, to Councillor Chichok. For the road rehabilitation program, it was Vaughan Road that was quite under budget. So what happened was the debenture that was issued was carried forward into 2024 and was used to fund the 2024, partially fund the 2024 Vaughan Road project. So it is being used for the 2024 project.
So the only thing that we really incurred by being under budget, which is great, and I commend staff in all departments for their work, and the community, I should share the emails that I got, but the community is greatly appreciative of the work that was done, and to find out now that it came in under budget, likely for the bid prices. If we took the debenture out last year, we would have had to pay some interest on that debenture fund. And that's the only extra expense that we would have incurred. Is that right?
Through you, Mayor,
What's his name?
Chairman Trombetta, to Councillor Chichok, we did not get the funds till I believe November.
Okay.
So our first payment wouldn't be until May of this year.
Perfect. That's really great. And the report is great. And like I said, you just got to be quicker on the draw of those pictures, because the community is telling us they're finished. They're telling us you guys are finished. So that's really great news, because it says that they're happy with what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chichuk. Okay, that was pulled by Councillor Riley. I need a seconder for that item number 3, Councillor Chichuk. And the voting will be up in front of you for consent agenda item number 3. And that carries. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to item PW0824, Project Manager Ray Vachon, Recommendation Report RFD PW08-2024 regarding St. Anne's Road Reconstruction Consultant Services, Detailed Design, Tendering and Contract Administration and Inspection RFP Award. The recommendation report RFD PW08-2024 regarding St. Anne's Road Reconstruction Consulting Services, Detail and Design Tendering, Contract Administration and Inspection RFP Award dated March 19th, 2024 be received, and that the design portion of the above project be awarded to Urban Environmental Management Incorporated in the amount of $132,334 excluding HST, and that the project cost in the total amount of $175,000, which includes professional engineering services, a 15% contingency net HST, and other miscellaneous project costs be approved, and that a bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with Urban Environmental Management, Inc. be passed. I need a mover for that. Let's see. Councillor Chichuk, seconded by Councillor Riley. Any comments or questions on this? Councillor Riley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just so you know, at least on Zoom, it's a little hard to hear you there, so I don't know if your mic's point right at you or not.
Is that better?
That is a lot better, yes.
Oh, sorry.
So I just wanted to, through you, Mr. Chair, to our Director of Public Works there, and looking at some of the other tenders here, I was just kind of curious there's one particular vendor that seemed to be way off the mark here, and I was just kind of curious how something like that happens. I recognize that their score disqualified them based on the report here, and so I was just curious if maybe he had some information to why their number was astronomically lower than any of the other considerable ones, and was that part of the reason why they were disqualified? Were they not providing enough information?
Mr. Director?
Yeah, through the chair, the one vendor, after reviewing their proposal, they did not really meet the full requirements that was specified in the RFP, and their price kind of reflected that. So as you can see from all the other prices and the average prices, we basically disqualified their bid because their proposal didn't meet the terms of the RFP, didn't capture all the scope of work that was required, and then obviously their price reflected that. So that's the main reason we just considered it an invalid proposal and a rogue bid. So we just disqualified that bid, and then we scored the rest of the submissions accordingly.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other members of the committee with any questions? Okay, moving on, then the voting will be in front of you. And that carries. Thank you, members of committee. Moving on to item P09 2024, Manager of Operations Trey Benish and Director of Public Works Mike DePaula. Recommendation report PW09 2024, speed reduction and school zone implementation on Caister Center Road between Concession 5 and Regional Road 65 Silver Street. The recommendation report PW09 2024 regarding speed reduction and school zone implementation on Caister Center Road between Concession 5 and Regional Road 65 Silver Street dated March 19, 2024 be received, and that a Schedule W of the bylaw 89-2000 be amended to reduce the speed limit from 80 kilometers to 60 kilometers on Caister Center Road. Yep. After this, or after I read this? Okay. Okay. So sorry, I just members of committee, we have a memo that was sent out to members of committee today. So it's an amendment to this one. So let me just clarify that what I read is to be removed from the record, and I will read the memo that was advised from staff. So that the recommendation report PW09 2024 regarding speed reduction and school zone implementation on Caister Center Road between Concession 5 and Regional Road 65 Silver Street dated March 19th, 2024 be received, and that a bylaw for the school zone of 50 kilometers per hour, 150 meters either side of Caister Center Public School property limits, 1794 Caister Center Road be passed. So I need a mover for this. Madam Mayor, seconded by Councillor Bradrick. Comments or questions? Madam Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to point out to members of committee that this particular area, I'm glad to see this was all done in conjunction with the region, because a short while ago, Councillor Witteveen will remember perhaps as well, that the region was looking at adding community safety zones as well, and they have a matrix that they used where they look at various criteria. And when they added the new 12 or 13 community safety zones throughout the region, the scores 25 and above were the ones that were taken into consideration, and that particular stretch of road sat at number 24. So it was identified then. Had they enlarged their scope at the time, this would have been taken in at that point in time as well. So it's wise that we're making this move, I think, in terms of safety in that area. Thank you.
What was the speed back in your day, Madam Mayor?
Slow.
Councillor Riley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I guess I'll start by saying, like, I certainly support anything that's going to slow traffic down, especially around school zones. I think that's important. We see in the urban area, we have them when the flashing lights are on, the speed gets reduced to about 40 kilometers before it returns back to 50. I guess my question to you, Mr. Chair, or through you, Mr. Chair, to our Director of Public Works, and I realize in this report it highlights its consistency with how the other regional roads are handled, but was 40 kilometers an hour ever taken into consideration, considering the sensitivity of the area in relation to the vulnerable individuals that are moving from bus to car to school to road to sidewalk, all that stuff? Because keep in mind 50 significantly slower than 80, and a little bit slower than 60, but I think 40 is probably what was identified as a much safer way of ensuring that the lives that are around those areas are not going to are going to be significantly safer, just not to be exposed to any speeds higher than necessary.
Thank you, Councillor. Hold on, Director. Madam Mayor, you want to say something? Madam Mayor just wanted to say something, Councillor.
Well, actually,
Okay, Mike, just to clear, my question was to the Director, so I don't know if there's confusion there.
No, but we simply want to point out that there are no existing sidewalks, not whatsoever.
Oh,
And
okay.
the road is very open
Yeah.
there with very wide shoulders. So
Yeah.
I think probably, I will let the Director speak, but it's just, it's a different situation altogether. And if it, at some point in time, does become a community safety zone, that may be in effect. But that's just my understanding from our regional discussion.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you, Councillor. Sorry, maybe something was just mentioned of what you were saying about
Yeah,
sidewalks.
no worries.
So I'll turn it over to the Director there.
Yeah, through the chair. So, we worked with the region and the Region Road Corridor Safety Group. The region has really had a lot of initiatives over the years, like Vision Zero, and they have like a road safety committee working group. So there's a lot of, so we did reach out to them when we wanted to reduce the speed and implement a school zone in this location. So we collaborated with them and we did talk about dropping it down to a 40, but at the end of the day, to try to be consistent with what the region does throughout, what the region and the other municipalities do throughout the region, they really do recommend that it be implemented as a 50 in the school zone, especially in the rural area. You are correct, in the urban area, 40 is kind of what is always being recommended. So we did discuss that with the region, and in an effort to be consistent across the entire region, 50 is what's being recommended, and I wouldn't recommend reducing it any lower since it's a rural area. I think 50 is basically adequate in this area. And just to add to that, a very good example would be on Regional Road 63 through Addercliff, in front of the Addercliff School there. I'm not sure exactly what the school is called, but that's a good example on a regional road where it's a 70-kilometer speed, and the school zone is posted at 50. So again, it's just to provide consistency. It's to follow the region's Vision Zero and road safety initiatives that they're doing, and all municipalities are working together to be consistent.
Did you hear that, Councillor? Is it okay on your end?
It's hard. It's breaking up a bit. I will definitely go back and rewatch the video later. I think I got the consensus of it. I guess my last question, or at least my next question to you, Mr. Chair, back to the Director, is: was the school consulted at all in any capacity? Did they weigh in and sign off saying, hey, they completely support the 50, considering the area? I'm just on Google Maps and looking at the side of the road, I imagine there would be some students that live nearby that would be walking up there where 50 would still pose a threat. So I was just curious if the school was consulted at all in this process.
Through the chair, yeah, we did reach out to the school because there was two things that we kind of wanted to address, and that was implementing the school zone, speed reduction through the school zone. So I did talk to the superintendent of the school board to advise them that we were going to implement a school zone at 50 kilometers an hour. The other thing that I talked to the school board about is there are a lot of people that park on the side of the road, and I had a discussion with the superintendent about seeing if the school had any plans to kind of implement a kiss and ride system on their property or make improvements to their parking lot so that we can kind of get the, parked cars on the side of the road off the side of the road to make the situation even safer. So I did have that discussion with the school board, and they're looking into that. I can't really report back on what they're going to do about that, but so I did talk to the school board about those two issues, and really all we could control is implementing the school zone. So we did inform them of that.
Perfect. No, that's great. I appreciate hearing that they were consulted, and hopefully this adjustment definitely should certainly improve the safety there, and hopefully the 50 is enough. And the last thing I want to mention, I do appreciate the proactiveness in this. It's not uncommon to have to wait for an area and then becomes recognized as a problematic area. To the best of my knowledge, we haven't had any incidents or accidents in this area, knock on wood, and hopefully that continues to be the same.
Thank you, members of the committee. Anything? No, and I just wanted to add a comment. I do agree with members of comments made by members of this committee, and thank you for bringing this forward. This has been some concern by some residents. I'm trying to do some safety in that area. It has came to our attention to this committee last term, and now it's at least we are doing something, and we are listening to what our residents do say. It does get a busy time there because there is a lot of cars being parked on the side there. There's not too much walking of students that I've seen, but there is a lot of cars because the parking lot is small to access, and to lowering the speed in that section was a must, because I know it came to us as a request last term, and I'm glad to see it being implemented this term. So it's a good thing to see, and obviously safety is our concern for our residents in this municipality. So seeing nothing, any other comments, members of the committee?
Yes, I do, Chair.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see your hand there, Councillor Bradrick. Go ahead.
Because I can't find the button to press to put it up.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead.
Through you to the director, I had a question in regards to our other rural schools. If there has been an evaluation of similar types of needs. I know that, there's the public school that's in Bismarck, as well as there's a couple of Christian private schools that are in the rural area. So wondering if that has been looked at, or do we just respond to a community inquiry?
I believe this, through the chair, I believe the schools that Councillor Bradrick is referring to, they're all on regional roads, but I could double check that, but I believe the other ones are on regional roads, and if memory serves me right, I think there already is some kind of school zone implemented on those, but I could double check.
I wasn't sure about the one Christian school that I'm thinking about, but I'll research that and bring it back up to you if applicable.
Yeah, and I'll do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all, Chair.
Great, thank you, Councillor. Seeing none, the voting will be in front of you shortly, councillors. And that carries, members of committee. Thank you. Moving on to other business, and seeing that there is just one item of item PW 1024. Members of council, any other business of an informative nature? Seeing some shaking of the heads online there, so that means no. Anybody here in the gallery, or around the horseshoe? Seeing none. There's no new business, and there's no confidential matters. So, members of committee, I'll adjourn this second portion of this meeting tonight at 8:41. Thank you, everybody.